Hello everyone, it's an honor and a pleasure to be part of this symposium. We are a member, like all of you, and congratulations, Steve, for this great effort that you put every day to sustain our participation. We have a lot of things to share with you in the next 2 days, and I will tell you how proud I am about this joint journey together. I really believe we are just at the beginning. There are a few things I would like to share with you, and I'm going to switch myself. So, the first thing is I would like really to tell you that I think today we are at a point in this 21st century where we collectively are opening a new world made of the reality of human health, on the virtualization, the representation that will help us together to really evaluate new type of practices, new type of therapeutics, new types of modalities, understanding better life. That's the first thing I want to tell you, this addition, and it's not a replacement, this addition of the real world that many of you have as specialists of the domains are working hard every day can be extended with the effort we all do together to represent the complexity of what it is. We don't want to be perfect. Imperfect is okay, as long as it can help all of us in a multidisciplinary discipline with the incredible will to work together and share expertise of deep, wide phenomenon. This power of the team innovation on every aspect, I think, is something that can be revealed with this new world. In some way, Steve, I will tell you, as we go after 10 years of this journey, we are both foreigners of this new world, as well as we are citizens of this new world. We are building it, and very often all the legal or ownership or all the aspect of the legal and commercial aspect are not even defined. And we are entering this new world saying we are going to live in it because we want to do better for the humanity. And there are a lot of consequences, of course, but what I like about this symposium is that we are all taking the risk to share and to create breakthrough ideas. This is why I like what Georges Baladier is a philosopher, but I think he's a philosopher probably by accident, because when I read this person, I think he's also a mathematician, or at least maybe he had this secret context. But we are exploring new territories. This is what we are doing together. So what I would like to share with you today are a few ideas related to how virtual twins are not things aside. There are things that are coming and connecting and creating this kind of ladder to access to knowledge and know-how and experiment that helps to provide a better interpretation of the reality, because the reality will always win, of course. As you remind me, we made that bet 10 years ago, even 15 years ago now, to say we must try to connect physical world with nature and with life, and this is what we try to express here with the 3 spheres of representation of those words, and maybe as they come together, we can have new ideas to address the challenges we should be addressing. To do so, we continue to expand on all fronts, this framework of going from, multi-scale understanding, from human cells to human organs, but also the multi-scientific aspect of it. All aspects. There is always a mechanical part, electrical part, and many other phenomena. And this discipline, I think, has something good, which is the more innovation happens in the world, the more we help connect them together. And we help connect ecosystems and partners together. I'm amazed today to see how many startup companies in the world of life science and also what we call medtech. We saw it one this morning with this beautiful project where you swallow a robot. They did it here on stage. And we had the robot visiting the stomach and providing the pictures through investigation, and this robot could be pilot. This is a new world. So this multi-physics, multi-scale is also going to change because not only science is fundamental, but with AI and with data collection, we can also, if we don't have the access, or if the world has not yet represented the phenomenon from a scientific standpoint, from a math standpoint, we can at least try to evaluate what those massive data collection can reveal. And this is where I think, simply said, AI is good and is a very critical new opportunity to expand the move from data to relationship, to knowledge, and to know-how. And I will come back on that aspect. So that effort is an exciting effort, and I believe we have now a new wave, which is the capacity to exploit through cooperation. You will see MediTwin, you will see many other projects with different large companies in the world and small companies in the world of how coming together and connecting those information, we can elevate the view of the world we want to better understand together, to improve the world of life science at large. So that's one message which is important. It's upside down. Why is it upside down? It's because until now, most of the sophisticated things we did in the world of simulation were all coming from math and science. And now we think we can expand that when we don't know the laws of things with observation on what I call quality data, which make me give you a very brief story. My father was a farmer, and when I was young, he said, "Son, we are going to measure with high precision the weight of this bread every day. And you will see a magic happening." So, for a month, I've been putting the dots on a paper, and at some point in time, a beautiful curve happened. You all imagine it was the Gaussian curve. And he said, "Son," I was maybe 7 years or 8 years old, he said, "One day, you will know that this curve is a formula." Wow. So the reason why I give that anecdote is because we are still in the same situation. Now, it's more than the Gaussian curve, but we had a beautiful Nobel Prize presentation this morning about quantum. And I had the impression I was 40 years back looking at this observation of phenomenon. But I think today what is happening, the two things are coming together But I trust science will continue, on math, and mathematicians will continue to help us synthesize and create representation of the world that will be useful for everyone. This is what it means. But the point I want to make, instead of being in one direction now, it's going in two directions. From the theory to the reality, from the reality to the theory. We try to learn from what we have done on physical goods, on things. But I must admit that I don't think we can. I switched recently on that idea with Professor Johnson. We think that physical things provide us a certain space of thought. The most complex things, satellites, planes, they don't take off by accident, but we all know that we don't need to do prototype to guarantee that this big animal will take off. We have mastered that well, and more to be done. But I think for life, we have to invent new theory. We have to have access to new theories. I don't think we will apprehend and represent properly the life of the future with an extrapolation of how we observe the physical world. Life will establish new foundations with biology and many other things. However, there are a lot of things that could be learned from that progress, going from, flat definition of things to conceptual definition of things to gigantic assemblies of 3 million parts coming together for make one airplane fly without doing prototyping, providing, amazing safety and quality never seen before. And the same happening in production systems, city organizations. There are a lot that can be learned, but we do recognize that the move, and that's my second conviction for this symposium, the move to really go higher with the human virtual twin will require new foundations, new scientific foundations for biology. Because biology is the heritage of a lot of experiment, but there is not enough theory. While in chemistry, it's relatively well mastered. More to be done, of course, for circularity and many other things, on inventing new type of materials, which is also exciting. You put atoms together and you can discover that you can create a new material that no one thought about before. And we can simulate that it will be stable, and we can simulate that you will use it in a beautiful circularity. This will continue to happen, but in some way, it's opening up in the kind of same space of representation of the world. But life is bigger. And so I think this, as you well said, Steve, this symposium, we are all together to reveal and connect new science with new experiment, with new practices that will reveal in a new way the possibilities to transform life science, which will have significant consequences not only for human, but for all life on the planet, including nutrition, prevention, and more. So this discipline of creating virtual twins, I'm astonished that people are still asking me, what's a virtual twin? Well, simply said, we have done very advanced virtual twin for aerospace, on space, on extremely complex physical goods. Let me tell you make a simple demonstration for you. The first ever large, huge airplane that was done, the Boeing 777, was done that way. Today, if a country having massive money buy this airplane, disassemble it, put armies of engineers to reverse engineer. They are not able to replicate. I don't name countries, but you all have them in mind. On more, they will not be able to replicate. They are not able to replicate, otherwise they would have done it by now. If they were having access to the data we have produced to engineer, simulate, and produce that big animal, they would be able to replicate it. For the first time in human history, the capacity for human to observe the physical things is limited and is surpassed by the capacity of human being to reuse this representation of that physical world, the 3 million parts of this gigantic airplane, and reproduce it. That's a big moment. Now, we're not there for life science, but we should all commit that we want to go there and see one day that curve of observing life being surpassed by the representation of the phenomenon to help invent new practices, new therapeutics, new nutrition, you name it. That's the message which is behind here. So being able together to collect, create, invent, calibrate possible representation of that world of living things with the experiment is at the core of what will be our biggest contribution. Join forces to make this happen. And I call this universe, not metaverse, this is fake, not omniverse, that's also computing, but universe where the V plus R is this new world. And that's what we want to do together. Simply call it, please, our universe for life science. So, when I connect those pieces together, maybe we are trying to invent a new way to learn together through what I consider being a fiction at first, the power of imagination. Fiction is important. Being able to dream is important. I believe, Steve, when we committed ourselves to the Living Heart program, and now with the Living Brain, it was a similar challenge as the one when 40 years ago I tried to digitize an entire airplane. I remember the top best engineer of the world telling me, "Hey kid," unfortunately I was young at that time, "Hey kid, you will never succeed. You know, you will never bypass the wind tunnel because we don't know enough about the laws of aerodynamics. The transformation of the shape of that object will change the laws of transfer." I will not go through all the details. And I said, well, but if we can do a little bit on reduce the distance between this stupid paper where you draw things and the beauty of what you produce, if this distance is reduced, maybe you will consider that I am contributing to help you understand each other better. I think we're at that stage. Being able to formulate a fiction. We have a new theory for that. In fact, it was presented this morning called the CK theory. It's based on math foundation. How can we represent something you imagine? Fiction. Then from fiction to engineering, how you translate that fiction to something that would be possible, would ultimately work, how you can produce it, how you can put it in operation, observe how it can be used and how it works, welcome in this beautiful if-we loop and learn from there and say, wow, from the reality, I should add this and learn more. So this is, I believe, structuring a lot of the cooperation we are doing together in many, many fields of the multi-scale, multi-physics. The other aspect of it is, I believe that it's wise to use a system view. Humans are not very, very sensitive to a system approach, a systemic approach, a multi-scale system. Yes, we know how to abstract things, how to represent with a lot of case studies, but being able to navigate real time between the abstraction, the science aspect, the data aspect, it's a beautiful world for discovery. And this is also what we want with the universe that we build together to provide so people can investigate, experiment, add information, and at some point in time, we will discover that someone having invented a math model that have never been seen before will be useful for us. The Nobel Prize that is contributing to quantum computing, it happened that he is my former professor, Alain Aspect, and he was telling me this morning, Bernard, for quantum computing, please come to us with problems that are unresolved, where you would accept an approximation in the resolution, because I cannot compute exact at this point in time. I said, I love you, my professor. We have so many of those problems where just an approximation will make the difference. So the interesting first usage, I think, of quantum computing will be on solving with a high approximation an extremely complex problem that humans have never solved. In fact, we are selecting those things today, and I think it's part of the journey we are doing. So the real world, the virtual world, being able to navigate and go there, learn together, capitalize on this knowledge. I have 10 grandkids, 2 more next year. When I discover the way they learn, if I show them a virtual representation on the screen for a 5-year-old kid, they are between 16 and 8 weeks, they say, wow, big smile. They can put the red in the engine. They can go inside a part or a frame structure of an airplane. I can show them the living heart. You are going, darling, to visit your heart. You see light in their brain. I think hands shape the brain, not the other way around. Experiment is key, but you can experiment in the virtual world. So that's the idea. Collect, represent, connect the information, build relationship. And we believe that with those relationships, we can build knowledge and know-how, which basically are the corpuses of the best discipline in each of the domains we cover through the challenges we have to cover. If I speak to an aerospace engineer and I tell him empennage or wing, immediately there is a massive set of consequences. There is a representation, and there are many other things. So each of the things we do in the world as humans have specific corpuses that are going to go far beyond large language model. Large language model is outstanding, to speak, and exchange, and get access in a synthetic way to massive information is going to be a huge progress for human-machine interaction. But it's not going to stop there. We are going to have small models, highly precise, as well as we are going to have very corpus-centric, next-generation kind of AI usage. We are going to play that game to reveal that it's possible to better understand life. So to put this in action, and I will be, Steve, on time. I'll try to save you 2 minutes if I can. We're creating an ecosystem, trusting each other, accepting to share, but also to protect what needs to be protected. The case of Medidata is a good study for that. You know, here is a platform which is trusted by the biggest pharma in the world. There are many lawsuits between themselves, but they still accept that there is a third-party player to whom they are going to provide their data. They know their competitors are going to provide us their data too. We are going to synthesize them, and when we give them back that value, it's a higher value for them to invent their new therapeutics. It's a good deal. It's an honest one, because it's agreed before we do it. I believe that many of the current platforms that have been surveying us in the world, all of us, the deal is not honest because it was unknown before. But in the world where we are, the deal has to be fair and honest at the beginning. The MediTwin will be presented. We are very excited with that program. I think the very first of MediTwin program that we did is what we did with my friend Professor Hoganson from the Boston Children's Institute, because it was the bet that they would share with us as much as possible. We will share with them as much as possible. And I know that this is going to be, we are going to get a new update at this symposium, if I understand the agenda, Steve. But so we can do it together. And of course, we have, because I'm convinced that I want you to learn a new French word called bricolage. Okay, bricolage is when you don't know and you try to put things together. I don't know what is the exact English word. Tinkering, okay. Bricolage. Remember bricolage. Bioscience is bricolage for me. We need foundations. So we have created a fundamental theory on research project with prestigious schools. I think this will be presented also. And we think we need those kind of things. So those are power of working together, the possibility to calibrate the real and virtual world, accepting that they can come together and the sum is more than the value of each of them, and being able to also work hard on new theory, because just doing AI on data will not be sufficient. So, you have understood it. We are building together this V plus R world for the dimension of life, going from a dream to let's try it, let's produce something, let's see how it can work in the reality, let's see how it's used in the reality, let's learn from there, and let's go again through the circularity of this beautiful, for instrument, you know, for therapeutics, for practices. And I think we can help the regulatory body to discover, as we did, I think it, as you mentioned, when we did the conference in front of 800 scientists of the FDA, they were asking us, Steve and I, tell us what you have done for aerospace. Maybe one day we'll be able to have a similar approach that happened 10 years ago. So with that, you understand where we are and how we want to contribute with you. Thank you for having us part of the symposium. The virtual world extend and improve and open the door to a new world, a new world, which I call for an industry renaissance of the 21st century. Welcome to this seminar. Thank you for giving me this slot to share some ideas with you, and I hope they will be useful. I wish you the best.